Okay, so this deep dive is going to be interesting. We're tackling this whole sunlight loophole thing for weight loss. And honestly, when I saw this article, bizarre sunlight loophole melts belly fat fast. I mean, come on, that's like clickbait 101, right?
Yeah, that's subtle. Not very subtle.
But then I kept reading and they start talking about clock genes and how like our ancestors evolved with sunlight and how modern life is messing up our metabolism. And it's like they actually sprinkled some science into this whole sales pitch for this zinc supplement. So now I'm curious, what's the actual connection between sunlight and our metabolism?
Well, you're right. They are using some scientific sounding words to dress up their claims. But the interesting thing is there really is a connection between sunlight, our internal clocks, and how our body processes energy.
Okay, so let's break that down a little. They keep saying clock genes. What are clock genes and what role do they play?
You can think of clock genes like tiny little timekeepers, and they're in almost every single cell in your body. They're not just setting your sleep schedule, they're actually regulating your entire metabolism. So they tell your body when to do everything, like from burning fat to releasing hormones.
Wow, so it's like a lot more than just like feeling tired at night.
Oh, absolutely.
But I can see where this is going because we've talked before about how, like, modern life can really mess with our sleep. So is all that messing with these clock genes too?
Exactly. Think about it. For most of human history, we lived by the natural rhythms of light and dark. Like our bodies are hardwired for that. But now we're constantly bombarded with artificial light, phones, laptops, even streetlights. It's like our bodies can't keep up.
So we're basically giving ourselves, like, constant metabolic jet lag.
In a way, yes. And that kind of chronic disruption, it can throw those clock genes out of whack and potentially lead to weight gain, less energy, and a whole bunch of other health problems.
Okay, well, now I'm both fascinated and terrified.
hmm
But this article goes a step further, right? There's this whole thing about sunlight at 10 degrees above the horizon. They're saying it's like a metabolic switch that our ancestors used for optimal fat burning. Is there any truth to that, or is that where the science starts getting a little iffy?
That's where they get a little creative. It's true that sunlight is our master clock, and different wavelengths of light can affect us in different ways. But this 10-degree thing, it just feels, I don't know.
Yeah, like they Googled, when does the sun burn the most fat?
Pretty much. There's no real scientific basis for that specific claim. It's probably just made up to sound, more scientific and precise. But let's switch gears for a sec and talk about the ingredients in zinc. They make a big deal about them being like these all-natural super nutrients, but honestly, looking at the list, osmium sanctum, camellia sinensis, chlorogenic acid, some of these just sound like fancy names for stuff you'd find in, like, the tea aisle.
Right, like how revolutionary can this be if I already have half the ingredients in my morning tea?
Yeah, you're not wrong. Osmium sanctum, for instance, is just holy basil, which has been studied for its potential metabolic benefits, and Camellia sinensis, that's just green tea. Again, there's some evidence that it might be good for metabolic health, but we're not talking about miracle cures or anything.
So far, it's a lot of might and some evidence, not very convincing. What about the rest of it? They list things like L-carnitine, chromium, resveratrol, anything there that really screams breakthrough fat-burning secret.
Well, each ingredient has its own, supposed benefits, some, like chlorogenic acid, which is found in coffee beans, and resveratrol, which you can find in grapes and red wine. They're being studied for their potential metabolic effects. But, and this is important, isolated ingredients in supplement form don't always lead to real-world results.
So just because something seems promising in a lab doesn't mean that popping a pill will magically melt away fat?
Exactly. There's a huge difference between a controlled study and the complexities of, a real human body. Plus, a lot of these ingredients work together with other compounds that are found naturally in food, and these supplements might not account for that.
So are you saying that while the individual things might have some scientific backing, the way they're presenting it, like this perfectly crafted formula that targets clock genes, that's probably an exaggeration?
To put it lightly, yes. It's a pretty common strategy in the supplement world. They take ingredients that have a little bit of scientific support, package them up nicely, and then make big claims that aren't really backed up by strong research.
Yeah, that's good to keep in mind because it's really easy to get caught up in all the fancy marketing, especially when they start using like scientific terms and stuff. So before anyone runs off to buy this zinc supplement based on this article, what's like the main takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
Well, the biggest thing to remember is there's a very real connection between sunlight, our circadian rhythms, and our metabolic health. Like, that's not just marketing. What is misleading is saying this supplement is some kind of shortcut to hacking those systems, especially when, simple lifestyle changes can make a much bigger difference.
So it's less about finding a magic pill and more about syncing up with our natural rhythms.
Exactly. Things like sticking to a consistent sleep schedule, getting real sunlight during the day, not just sitting under a lamp, and being mindful of artificial light at night, especially blue light from our devices. Those can all make a huge difference. It's all about working with our bodies, not against them.
That makes a lot of sense. You've
hmm
given us a lot to think about today. It's amazing how much power these internal clocks have over things like our sleep and our weight.
It really is incredible, and it just shows how connected we are to the natural world. Even with all our technology, we can't escape the fact that we evolved under very different conditions.
It makes you think about the future,
Yeah.
What happens as technology gets even more advanced? Will we have to consciously design our environments to be more in sync with our biology?
Now that's the question, isn't it? It's something we'll need to think about more and more. How can we have the benefits of modern life without messing up our internal rhythms? I don't have all the answers, but it's a conversation worth having.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, we'll leave our listeners with that thought to ponder. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. Until next time, keep those circadian rhythms happy.